Some of you may know my company as EA or EA Sports. So we make video games, which is very fun. It also dominates my life. At work, I play it at work, I talk about it at work, and I see it at work. And then in my home life, I'm also kind of obsessed with games. I play a lot of games at home. My wife tells me that I've been obsessed with the college football game recently. So let me see if there we go. Unfortunately for this audience, I'm not talking about like global football. I'm talking about American football, so specifically college football. So EA, for the first time in 10 years, released a new version of our American college football game, which for me is incredibly exciting. I went to the University of Texas, which is a big football school. We're #1 in the country, by the way, as of last week. So we're doing really well, and I was so excited about this game when it came out 2 months ago. I got it early access. I fired it up, and just the first 5-10 minutes it blew my mind, right? Like the visual fidelity, the marching band music, the look and feel of all the players and the stadium. When you're going through the tunnel, like the controller actually vibrates because of the stomping of the crowd, right? So everything was feeling so good, right? Until I started playing the game was the problem. So when I started trying to win the game, to be honest, it's a little bit embarrassing to say, I could not win a game at all in the beginning. It was so hard. I couldn't figure out the controls. There were a bunch of visual cues coming at me. And if you've played games before, you might know this feeling of, okay, the computer just decides to win, right? Like the AI god of the computer, of the game, decides that you're gonna lose and you're along for the ride. So I was really frustrated at first until I started diving into like YouTube tutorials on how to get better at the game. I started consuming the content. And then I got better. I got tips and tricks, and then I got better and better. And there was something that I learned about this college football game, and a lot of sports games in particular, which is this. This game has what gamers call a high skill gap. So high skill gap means that this game requires some effort for you to really enjoy it, right? So a low skill gap game is something like, I don't know, Pac-Man, or something you can download on your phone. You can get it, it's probably 2-3 buttons, really simple to navigate. And then more or less you can like get 80-90% enjoyment from the game, and then just, you'll be okay, right? You're getting what your money's worth. But not this game. I had to learn the mechanics. I had to like learn like football concepts and have like domain expertise on how to run plays and get good at it. But then when I did, I got better, not great, and I started really enjoying the game. And I'm sharing all this with you because I think when we think about Gen AI and procurement, I think it has a high skill gap. And by that I mean, you could just open up ChatGPT or any models, and you can talk to it, and then you'll get some information back, you'll kind of enjoy it. But for business use, for procurement, you're really not going to get the maximum benefit of generative AI unless you really scale up, right? Up level on things that will help the AI give you better information. And this is hard because Gen AI is getting better and better. We saw some information before. And I actually asked ChatGPT how much better it's gotten since it went into public. And interestingly, very coincidental to the theme of this conference, it told me it got 10x better, right? Just through a combination of speed, accuracy, efficiency, and then also capabilities like integration. I actually thought it would be more than 10 times better, but it's a nice coincidence here. So the AI is getting better, and I think we as human beings need to upskill and close the gap as well. so that we can effectively use generative AI. So for me, I think there's a few things here. We can't 10x in the next 10, 15 minutes, but consider this your YouTube tutorial, like in the game, and hopefully you'll get a little bit better and close the skill gap. So the three things I think are important is one, the art of talking to AI, prompting it, how to start the conversation. Second, telling truth to AI. The concept we heard a bit about in past sessions, which is sometimes the AI isn't going to be right and might hallucinate a little bit. And us as procurement professionals need to have the domain expertise to tell it when it's wrong. And then finally, innovating with AI. After we've had all these discussions with them, how do we work with it to continuously improve things for the community? So let's talk about art of talking to AI first. So very timely, actually, there was a big study that was released just 2-3 months ago by various universities, OpenAI, Microsoft, a bunch of tech companies were in it. It's called the Prompt Report. It's maybe like 80 pages. It gets pretty dense, so I wouldn't recommend reading through it all. I've called out a few key points that I thought were very interesting, which are that getting Gen AI to do what it wants for you is very fundamentally different than like just any computer programming in the history of mankind, right? There are people who create these language models who don't even know and they can't predict what the Gen AI will say and respond back based on the inputs. To the point that the report and the researchers called it a black art, like it's something so mystical and unknown that we really can't really predict what's going to happen. But it offered a few suggestions as to how to interact and prompt it so that you could at least get some helpful results. So this is called prompt engineering or prompting. I'm not going to get as graphic as previous presentations on prompting, but I did want to have an example for you. So this right here is a real prompt that I've used. It's anonymized and simplified to some degree, but the use case is there. So I plug this into ChatGPT. So take a few seconds and read through it. There is something wrong with my email that I'm asking it to check for me. So do me a favor, raise your hand if you've caught the error. Some of you are hesitant because you think I'm tricking you, that there's really no error. But there's an error in the email here. No one? No? Yeah, there's something wrong with the math, right? 800 users, $800,000. Either the per user number is wrong, or the total number, or maybe even the number of users is wrong. So there's something wrong with this email that I'm writing that I want the model to check for me. And so I asked it, hey, what do you think about this email? And it told me, your draft email is really clear and it's nice, and it gave me some good tips about writing styles. But it didn't catch the math error. So that was really interesting to me. So I kind of went into the rabbit hole of like YouTube tutorials like the game and started learning like these different techniques to try to, I didn't want to outright say, hey, look at the math. I want to see like how far can I get without outright saying it so that it catches on, right? So I changed this up a little bit. So I took out my first sentence and I inserted, I was a little bit more specific now. So that's one of the techniques is to be specific about what you're asking for. Instead of saying, what do you think about it? Which is like a very human way of saying that, right? Like, hey, what do you think about this email? I say, analyze this for readability and accuracy. And you would think it would catch it, but it didn't. It still told me, hey, your email is clear, and there's a few minor adjustments, blah, blah, blah. It said it in different ways, but it didn't catch the math. Okay, so I thought maybe instead of adjusting the top, I can adjust my actual email. So I added just one word in two places. I added the word total next to the total dollar values, because maybe the model didn't catch on the relationship between the numbers. And maybe that might help. And sure enough, it did. Finally, when I put this in, it caught on and it told me, hey, your per user is inaccurate, or the total is inaccurate, right? That was the result that I was hoping for. Interestingly, so you can see that really small specific words matter in terms of the output you would get from Gen AI and what you ask it to do. Something else that also matters, apparently, is who do you want the Gen AI to be? So one technique is to tell it to be who you want it to be in the first place. So my original email, so same thing, I didn't change it, what do you think about it? Except this time, at the very top, I said, you are a procurement professional with cost analysis and negotiation, supplier negotiation skills, right? You know, because I was hoping, hey, okay, if you're a good, well, judging by the hands that didn't come up, maybe I was wrong. So, but I was hoping it would be right. But, you know, interestingly, it didn't catch on. Like, it was a good, you know, good news, bad news situation. So the good news was that at the end of giving me analysis about the writing style, it also gave me information about, like, hey, you're drafting to a stakeholder, maybe mention something about negotiation strategy and cost-benefit analysis, right? And not just summarize points. And so it gave me that, which I really appreciated. But the bad news is that it again didn't catch on to the math. And then finally I gave up. I'm like, okay, you are good at math, I said. So, and of course that one worked, right? So in that case, it said, hey, you have something wrong, and there should be a confusion. There could be a confusion on the decision making if the cost per user is incorrect. So really interesting, I thought, right? So just really what I would perceive to be, you know, I wouldn't really have to say it in that direct way to get the result that I wanted. I found that you kind of do at times. And this is where telling the truth to AI becomes really important, because it can be wrong, it can miss things, it can hallucinate, because it will just kind of use the information that it has on hand and try to come up with the best possible answer. And something that's really kind of tricky too is that not only could it be wrong, it's like really confident when it's wrong. If you use ChatGPT, right? Like, you can't, if you're talking to someone, you can read someone's body language and be like, oh yeah, this person isn't very sure about the answer, right? Or maybe the way you say your analysis makes me think that you're not quite sure. But not these models. Like, it's so confident, it just gives you the answer, right? This is the fact, and this is the analysis. And interestingly, the research shows not only is it really confident in telling you the answer, but when you start questioning it, it actually has a tendency to change its mind and start agreeing with you. So can you imagine working with someone like that who's like really confident that they're wrong, but then don't have the spine to like back it up and, right, and stick to their story? So let's illustrate this a little bit. So same scenario I had before, right? After it didn't caught on to the math error, I asked it, hey, how confident are you that my original draft was well-written and error-free? And it gave me such a nice response. Your original draft stands perfectly as is, with the exclamation point. It was a lot, I'm paraphrasing here, but this is an exact sentence, right? So it made me feel really good about it, when in fact I know like it's missed something. I tried to give it a couple more chances. You know, it's free of, I even caught out mathematical errors. And it didn't, this was actually the most interesting response to me. So check this out. It actually repeated my wrong math and said that it checked it. Like I copied this verbatim. There's no error, and then it even gave me a nice formula that I know is wrong. And I was trying to, you know, ask it a leading question, like, hey, like I'm trying to trap it now, right? Hey, you're confident, right? It's like a 9 out of 10 on a confidence scale. and he said, yeah, I'm 9 or 10, confident. There's no significant error. And then I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to put it out of your misery now. Like, double check the math on per user, finally. And then it finally it broke down and did what I wanted it to do. So to be fair, it was really nice when I asked it, like I would if it's like someone on my team, hey, why didn't you catch this before? And it's hard to be mad at a language model. It's like so nice. Like, I sincerely apologize, and I'll be more careful before moving forward with an exclamation point, right? So I couldn't stay mad at them for too long. So by the way, I'm not picking on ChatGPT or any models in particular. In fact, I did this a couple months ago in using 4.0. They are on 1 or 1.0 now. I forgot what they're calling it, but they renumbered to 1 because it's supposedly so good. So maybe this is fixed now. And I don't mean to suggest that Gen AI is terrible because of these mistakes, right? And that you need to have very specific words, and there's no magic words or sentences, because the reality is that the AI is going to modulate to how you write. So the way that you write this scenario in the email, it might catch on for you, right? Maybe it's just my writing. But I did want to offer just a framework for how to think about interacting with the model, and I have tried to reclaim the acronym RFP in this case. I thought it would be memorable, and I think some people don't like RFPs now, but I'm still a fan. But in this space, RFP stands for, number 1, the role. So remember to give it a role. Tell it who, maybe it's an executive, maybe it's a procurement professional, or maybe it's, a proofreader that's good at grammar, right? Secondly, F, facts and focus. You gotta have some context on which the language model can anchor onto, and to have specific instructions of what are you looking for, right? Are you looking for math? Are you looking for reading and writing and everything? And then finally, proof. Like, ask it for evidence that is correct. Double check it, right? So RFP, remember that. I think that would be helpful. So I've been using this incorrectly in my real job. Like, I started writing RFPs like for this context. And then finally, I wanted to leave you with a few thoughts on innovation with AI. So hopefully with the framework before, you'll have some great conversations with AI at the individual level, right? But I think as a community, there's a lot that we can do together to make AI good. And for me, I think there's a few things. Number 1, exploring with an open mind. So, I think we tend to be skeptics in this profession and maybe not adopting so quickly. But I think if we let perfection be the enemy of good, we're not going to really progress too far. So explore with an open mind, but discover with purpose, right? As you're trying to solve a business need, I encourage you to anchor on that. When you're talking to solution providers, talk to them about not only their tech capabilities, but give them your business problem and see whether the technology can adapt to solve your problem. And I think that may unlock some interesting learnings and conversations. Speaking of learning, I think the fact that you're all here means you're learning. But I wanted to call out the part about learning with humility, which is admitting when something's not going well or is wrong. I think that's very important. We tend to learn more from other people's mistakes than their success, right? So I think if we share those with each other, that will be helpful. And then promoting with integrity, last of all. What I mean by integrity is really just having a balanced approach to how we talk about AI. I'm guilty of this. I get really excited about Gen AI and its potential, but there are shortcomings, as we can see. So we should balance that so that those who are not along for the ride yet and have reasonable skepticism, that we can bring them along and we can together really try to give that feedback loop to AI as the domain experts in procurement and make it better together. So with that, thank you. I appreciate you not walking out on me early for a drink. I know it's getting late. I hope your skill gap has closed a little bit. And, but you know what? If the only thing you took away is to play more video games, that's okay too, because that's a win in my book. So thank you for your time.